on the Teams call tonight. I want to thank everyone for jumping on and letting everyone know from Southern Footy League Minis panels right through to our seniors panel. We're using the chat function, as I mentioned, and I'm going to supply everybody a link to a bit of a topic, hot topic of discussion in regards to umpiring footy. It's the most contentious decision. Does anyone know what that might be? What's the most contentious decision open to interpretation? What might that be, folks? Anyone want to chime in? Come off mute. Type it in the chat. What do you reckon? Don't leave me hanging. Any ideas? What could it be? Everyone screams is would have heard on the weekend. If you went to any gather round games, everybody wants it paid. What is it? Come on, folks, don't be shy.
Holding the ball.
Holding the ball. That's right. Everyone wants holding the ball. So I'm going to pop in the chat my YouTube channel. Correct answer. Correct weight. Thank you for that. We've all got to build a bit of confidence here, right? When we're speaking to everybody, speaking to players. This one here is a split-second decision, and so holding the ball. So I think I've got 13 examples in there. Now I don't expect everybody to jump on there and play it, but we're going to talk about this one a little bit more detail as we go along, because that's the one that everyone may have the most challenging with, and spectators look at it. Now, in tonight's topic, I want to cover what is, I guess it's best described as control general play. All right, so control general play. When you're umpiring, when you're running around as a field umpire, you have to make decisions. Obviously, holding the ball is one of them, but essentially, a lot of it is to do with how we position ourselves as a field umpire. And positioning is key to being able to make the best possible decision. Now, we like to call it a comfortable decision-making position. So I like, depending on whether you're umpiring under sevens, under nines, under 11s, right through to senior football, is that we have some awareness, okay, as far as where we need to be, where we need to take up position, so we can be in a comfortable decision-making spot to make a good call, to get the call right. And so part of that is about reading the game. If you love footy and you've watched footy on telly and you've watched local footy, maybe you're a player of local football, you might find yourself following the ball. I know you don't have to put your hands up in this function, but we can, hands up who notices themselves sometimes following the football and watching just the football. As field umpires, we don't want to be doing that, right? We want to be able to keep our distance from play, and we want to be able to watch what's going on around the contest, okay? If a player's in the open and in the clear, that player's going to either, kick it or handball it. And so therefore we need to move down the field to take up a position to get to the next contest. So some of the terms that I use on these sessions, it may be totally foreign, totally unknown. You've never heard it before. And it's really umpiring speak. And to get the best out of you, this is kind of like how to be the best field umpire as well. And I am actually putting some sessions together, some introduction videos on how to field umpire, how to boundary umpire, and how to goal umpire, just so it helps the community in the southern region and anywhere really, because I'll go on my YouTube channel. So speaking of my YouTube channel, like I said, I put the video in the link there for holding the ball as an example. But if you're ever interested in having a look, it's not like subscribe and like, I'm not looking for followers. It's just something of interest. We actually have, and as a senior panel, have our website. And this is it here. It's CSLFUP.com.au. And it's really a one-stop shop for all of our umpires to go to and use it as for game day match management. We have paperwork in there. We have instructional videos in there as well. And really what I've done is I've uploaded my videos to YouTube, but then the good ones go into our umpire videos. So if you go to our website, and even those of you at home, you're playing at home and you have another browser open, you can do this or look at it afterwards. Key in that website. We put in our appointments for the senior panel. So if you're unsure where games are located and who's umpiring them, I put them in there. And this one here, we put some resources. That's a folder that I dump a lot of information, a lot of content in there for any first year developing umpires. You'll feel free, you're welcome to have a look at that. We're going to unpack that a little bit tonight. but also our videos, and that's in here as well. So if you look at some of those videos in there, it's how to register, it's how to do some of the e-learning that the AFL requires us to do, but also it has in there some of the content that are coaching videos that I'll put in there from time to time, which links back to my YouTube channel. So I've got my YouTube channel here. I'm just going to jump over to here. It's got a few videos in there already that we've done before. Some of you are going to you might umpire as a single umpire, probably have someone mentor you. And so therefore you're working together with another umpire up and down the ground, as you see here, our three umpire system. And as we get up to senior panel, we have come finals, we always run a three umpire system through our finals. So three fieldies, that is, three field umpires in the field umpiring scenarios, that who's in control of play. We never want to have a situation where a field umpire, doesn't have control of the play. All right. And we'll talk about that tonight a little bit more as well. And then you can see some of my other examples in there for, dangerous tackles and the fair play rules in there as well, explaining that in our Southern Football League region, and also Great Southern in junior colts as well. But if I come back to our website, you'll be able to look in this resource folder here. And so when you click on a resource folder, it's got a whole lot of development resources in here that we're putting together. Obviously, the most important thing is to know the rules, right? So very important, know the rules. And that's here to 2025. They've just been put up there. Then we've got them in a PDF version. There is a mobile-friendly version if you Google the laws of the AFL. Some of our laws are going to be modified, of course, depending on what grade, what level you're umpiring. They're going to have different rules as well for the grades that you're umpiring in, depending on the age group. So that's where we encourage you to, if you're in minis, to look into your Facebook group or reach out to your respective coach there as well, because he does, as in Mark Jensen, he'll do sessions from time to time to jump on as well. I put in some notes from going into last year. We recorded a session as well for our first years. Get there, be ready for the game, obviously during the game, and what happens for afterwards for certain umpires that have responsibilities as well. And in my senior panel, I have a really a lot of information here on what we're trying to achieve as far as from season to season, and we call that our team standards. And we really want to work as a team out there. If you're working and umpiring with a fellow umpire, is to listen, be open to be feedback, open to being coached as well. That's going to help you develop and grow as a promising field umpire within our southern region. Also like to put in there a few topics. Sometimes I talk about contests for the ball, so what we need to do. This is pre-recorded sessions I've done from last year. There's some videos, as I said, this is where I'm going to obviously put a lot of information into this folder. And we have our coaching plan as well, where we're going to be, so a lot of the times Wednesday nights we're at Hackham. This week we're not at Hackham on a Wednesday. We're just having this weekend off going into Easter. And then we come back next Wednesday, refreshed, recharged, and ready to go into the respective rounds that we're umpiring. Some of the topics you'll see in this folder as well has high contact, obviously has holding the ball, and we've taken some information from AFL Queensland. I've got some resources from them. And so I like to share this openly across leagues, across places, but certain ones, as I mentioned, are specific to your area. So if unsure, just double check, as I said, with your respective coach. We talk about holding on. We talk about our last possession rule as well. So we have that as applicable in our senior panel right through down to juniors as well. So when a player handballs a ball or kicks the ball, that's counted as a possession, and a free kick can be awarded in our leagues. This is an interesting one I'll talk about tonight as well, holding the ball. I'll give you a bit of a flow chart. It's directly from the AFL. I thought I'd don my AFL top, bit of a hand-me-down. I didn't umpire AFL. I did umpire Sandful for 25 years of umpiring, 15 years at Sandful doing league footy, so and reserves footy, so senior footy there. But long time, but I've got a resource there to help us to understand holding the ball. Other ones are topics of pushing the back, ruck and mark contest. What happens when we give a yellow card? There's a bit of a matrix to follow as well. And as you're progressing, if you're studying, if you're a student, there are potential SACE points that you can accumulate if you're going into year 11. So those that are in year 9, 10, you start thinking about conversations with your teachers about SACE points. We can actually, through the Sandful, sign you off on SACE points. So there's information there to take back to your teacher if that's applicable to you. Again, the fair play rules in writing there for the Southern Footy League. umpiring in the two umpire positioning where you should be, which is what we're really going to expand upon tonight. And then as you get older, 14 years and up, we require working with children's check. So there's a process there that we need to complete. So if that's applicable for you, your respective admin secretaries and coaches would have given you information about how to do that if you're 14 and over. If you're not, you're exempt on that one there. So there's a bit of a guide that's been completed as well for football if you're interested in light reading. And as I said, I've got plenty of videos if you're a visual learner as well. So I'm going to jump in just quickly. As I said, I've sent you the video for holding the ball. We're going to just touch on this one here quickly in regards to always read the laws. This is just a snippet from the law, which is holding the ball from 18.6 onwards. And there's a really interesting statement. The first one that comes across is the spirit and intention. So what I mean by intention is around what's the player going to do. All right. So if you've played footy, your intention is to win the contest. Your intention is to follow a game plan. You might be told what to do as far as coaching instructions, but your intention is to kick a goal. You know, it's not to kick points. So we have good intentions and play fairly as players, but in general, the spirit of it, played in good spirits, good sportsmanship, those are the things we look for. And as an umpire, our role to facilitate the game and to help those playing the game is these rules need to be applied, don't they? They need to be enforced when a player goes outside of that. And that's where our game's so great because there's such I guess, a grey area in some cases with holding the ball that it is open to your interpretation. You have that authority with that whistle in your hand as a field umpire to make decisions. And what I want to instill in everybody that's on the call tonight is really just to think about what can I do to add value when I'm umpiring the game. Now, it's a lot of it for me when I go out is about thinking about are the players playing safely? You know, accidents happen and injuries are it's part of the game. It's part of a physical contact sport. But where possible, as as far as as far as applying the rules go, we need to make sure that our number one priority is our players out there are playing safely. Okay, we have a duty of care towards them. And one of the things that's been creeping in is around, is it a legal tackle? And so here it is defined in the laws what is a legal tackle, okay? Whether they have prior opportunity, whether they dispose of the ball. And so what I want you to think about when you're out umpiring is not overthink it, but just through step by step by step is if you replay this in your mind or say this over to you, in your mind, does the player have prior opportunity? Is the player legally tackled? Do they make an attempt? Do they have to make an attempt? These are some of the sequences you're going to have a look at when playing hold the ball. And it's very different from what you see on the TV on AFL football. It's very different in some ways. Sandful is more closely related to what you'll see at senior football on a Saturday within Southern and Great Southern. But in minis, it can be completely different, right? It can be our observation to see the player has a genuine attempt or a genuine prior opportunity. So I want to make that really clear that we look after our player who's going for the football or in possession of the football. If we do that, we make it so much easier to be consistent. And that's what footy really wants. We want us to be consistent. Now, whether that's consistently bad, and if for some of you first years, you're starting out, you're going to make mistakes, and that's okay. All right. It's getting, as we progress, being open to be coached and given feedback and learn and develop. And these sessions, obviously, as I try to help you all as best I can, is to say, hey, it's okay. You're going to make mistakes. We've got to make the decision, put that aside because the next one's going to happen. Next decision is going to pop up pretty quickly. All right. So we've got to make sure we're ready to go for the next decision. All right. So there's the law as you see it. And this little flow chart here can help us. So to really break it down, holding the ball, simply put, is does the player have a prior opportunity? And if they do any of these things listed in that section there, then are they tackled legally? And in green, it's play on. And obviously, if it's in red, well, we're going to pay a free kick. So we want you to have strong, confident whistle blasts and strong communication. And the best way you can communicate to players is keep it really short, really sharp, and really simple. All right. So prior opportunity, no prior opportunity. Tackle legal, not tackled, free kick legally. So it's a free kick. And so you can see here as examples as it flows along through that there chart. If the player dives or drags it in, we have two options there. Player has to knock the ball clear, so therefore play on. And if they don't knock it clear, then we just delay our whistle just that little bit of a fraction of a second, give them that chance. As I've said, if they don't knock it free, they sit over it, they dive on it. If they fragged it in, we're then ready to pay that wonderful decision everybody wants paid, holding the ball. All right, so that's in that documents folder there as an example, bit of a holding the ball flowchart. So if you go away later tonight or after this call or after another day, tomorrow, next day, and have a look at the video, the link that I've put in the YouTube channel there, and watch those 13 decisions, put it on mute or listen to my voice explaining why I see the decision the way I see the decision and want our group to be coached that way, then that's going to help you make a good decision, good umpiring as far as a good umpiring decision and what footy really wants as obvious and blatant for holding the ball. All right. I don't know if any questions have popped up in the chat, but that's the development folder based on our website that you'll be able to access through our website. It's open to anybody. Feel free to have a look through there. You can download anything you want to download to your computer and watch it another time if you're not access to the internet as well. So underway, let's get on with it. So looking at this topic tonight, general play. Does anyone know, I'm going to stop sharing here. Does anyone know what's a good, comfortable decision-making distance that we should be from the contest? And I'm talking about a game of footy. How far away should we be in meters? Does anyone know? You can chuck it in the chat or you can come off mute if you feel confident, have a chat with me. No, I've done a lot of talking.
10 to 15 meters.
So 10 to 15, did you say?
Yeah.
Okay, so it really depends on the grade you're umpiring. And so when I look at senior football and I look at A-grade football, I encourage our umpires to get 20 to 25 meters from the contest. So 15 is probably a very good distance for you in minis, okay? So why do we want to be that far away? Does anyone know? Does anyone know why we want to be that far away? That seems like a long way. You feel free to write your answer in the chat.
So you're not interfering with the play?
You're not in the way, Daniel? Yeah, that's good. That's a good point. We don't get hit. Yeah, we don't want to be what happened that umpire on the weekend. You get a good view of what? What was that? What do you get a good view of?
Of the play.
Yeah, more specific. What do you think we're looking for?
What to call?
For you to make a decision? Yep, that's the end result. What am I looking for specifically? What are some objects you might be looking for specifically? So we give the players, thanks Seth, we give the players space and an angle. Yeah, we want to be on the move. We can see the whole contest. Thank you, Cooper. I want to look for something specific. For those that know me well, if you don't know me well, it might be a bit tricky. But that's all right. What I'd like you to do is I'd like you to be able to see the football. I'd like you to be able to see specifically from this distance away. I'd like you to be able to see the football. I'd like you to be able to see the player's head because we want to look after that area. It's a protected area from head to shoulders. All right. So if we can see head, shoulders, knees and toes, the footy, I'm only joking about knees and toes. If we can see that, then we'll be able to make in a comfortable decision-making distance from the players. We're not going to get run into. Hopefully, if we adjust, we're not going to have a player run in front of us as well, like covering and blocking our vision. Because if that happens, that's an indicator, a trigger. We need to move slightly left, 1 to 2 meters, slightly left, slightly right, depending on where you can see that head, shoulders, and the football. Great work. All right. So general play, we want to adjust position. Now, what happens is if you pay a free kick or a mark in around the ground, what might you do? What might you do? One, you're going to blow your whistle. And then it's a trigger, if you blow your whistle, that we can't be stationary. That's right, Seth. We've got to move. We've got to move. But where do we move to? If we played a mark, let's say, for example, where do we move? If we're 15 meters away or maybe 10, 15, where do we adjust to take up a position? To the next contest? Maybe. It depends on the scenario around the ground. This is a kick, let's say, inside 50 meters, the center square, 50 meters, all right, inside that sort of on the oval. If we go running in to a good distance that you can use your voice and say to the players, you're on the mark, or potentially you may need to tell the player who's on the mark, they need to come back 1 meter, 2 meters, whatever it may be that you require of them. And if you use please and thank you, that can build respect and rapport with those fellow players. So essentially, we've got a responsibility to set that player up on the mark, and we need to keep our vision on the player with the football as well. We've just paid the free kick or we've just paid a mark. So 90% of our vision needs to be on the player with the football, and 10% needs to be on the player on the mark. So we run into a shorter distance, a little bit shorter than 15. I'd like us to be between, in minis, it'd be probably 5 to 6 meters. In senior football, it's between 10 meters, just to tell the player, hey, 10 to 15, hey, you're on the mark. So it's an adjustment. A whistle blast is an adjustment to move and tell the players what you want from them. All right. And then the player's obviously going to kick if they're kicking to the next contest. If you're the umpire in control, this is really crucial. This is a really crucial part. If you're in control of that play and you're going to see the ball getting, let's say the ball is getting kicked to my left. So I've got my left of screen. Everybody can see this direction. I'm going to move that way, aren't I? And I'm going to take up a spot ready to see where the ball's going to land, but I don't want to be in the flight of the contest of a leading forward or a leading centre half forward. We want to get out of the way. So there's this imaginary line that runs across the ground. There's actually two. Does anyone know what they're called? Anyone know what these lines are called? These imaginary lines across the ground? You don't see them. Only umpires know what they're called. So this will help everybody. We were dividing the oval. It's an oval shape, and we divide it in half, right down the middle between goals, center of the goals, right down the middle to the other center of the goals. Yes, I'm hoping that's Brax. Yes, the major axis. Yes, the major axis. So the major axis runs from goal post to goal, goal center of the goals to the goals, right? And then we have, if that's the major axis, we have the minor axis, all right? So the minor axis is if we folded it over like a pancake, this oval shape. If you're in control in general play and you've paid a mark and you've run from 15 or 20 meters, whatever it may be, you've told the player they're on the mark, you have to back off, and you have to back off at an angle back towards the major axis. That's going to be your friend. All right, we divide the ground in sections so we make it easier to reference when talking to other umpires, and understanding of where players generally kick to is if they're playing down the wings, it's really easy for us to move up position and take up a spot closer to the major axis. If they're going down the middle, we have to get on the other side of the major axis, only slightly, but we need to just get out of the way. So again, depending on if you're the umpire in control and the kick's going this way off the screen and the ball's going to land inside 50 or center half forward square, we want to get back towards the major axis again and keep our space, keep our distance for the next contest at a 45-degree angle. So not side on to the contest, but running onto it 45-degree. As the ball lands, we're there in a comfortable decision-making position. We run onto that contest and we see that those players contesting the ball, or it might be a player who's in there in the open. If they're in the open, they're probably going to turn around and play on quickly. So we got to keep on the move. We don't want to stand still. We don't want to stop. Now, if we had another umpire who's supporting us, and you're the umpire who's just paid the mark, you'd be referenced as the number one umpire. The other umpire would be referenced as the number two umpire. They are going to therefore receive the play. So you're handing it over. All right. So where that minor axis that cuts from wing to wing, right? When we fold the oval over in a pancake, if we're anywhere in between on the ground, anywhere really, any long kick, any long handball, obviously we're going to call play on for a handball, but any long kick to your other umpire, your number two umpire, is a good time to hand over. Any short handball, any short kick is a very good time for us to hold on to it. And we want to keep that play under observation. And really, where we back away, we're able to, it tells our other umpire they need to back over the other side of the major axis or out of the way if the play is moving up the ground. And so this long kick that's going to be handed over, it's really important you as that controlling umpire, that number one umpire, we call this squaring off. And you're squaring off to where the player is on the mark, taking up a position where you can verbally tell the player you're on the mark. They don't need to move. You've got them back where you need them to be. You don't pay a 20, don't need to pay a 25 unless they run clearly, obviously over the mark. You're squared off. You're 10 meters thereabouts, so you're not in the way. And you might say, well, you want to say yours and hand that over verbally. And by standing still, I encourage all my umpires to put their hands to the side. Very, military like the ones you see in England with the bobbies there, the big hats they've got. There's military red coated army guards there at the Royal Palace. Really put your arms to the side. It's really exaggerated, but if your other number two umpire is watching what's going on, where the ball is, and where the next contest is going to land, they know it's a clear indication. We call this a non-verbal cue, non-verbal communication to say it's now going to be yours to take over and control the game. And that's really helpful because you're able to communicate without having to say anything. You didn't even have to say yours if you stopped running, but the other umpire needs to be aware of it. That's really crucial. That's why we always like to say yours. And if you're keeping it and it's a short kick or short handball, you're going to say mine. All right. To add further to that, and then this is probably a bit, a next level type conversation, I encourage my developing umpires on a Saturday competition, you need to tap your chest. This tapping of the chest is a non-verbal cue that tells the other umpire, hey, I'm keeping it. I'm keeping it. I'm going to keep it. And you want to do it on the side that the other umpire is on that side. So if they're on the right-hand side of the screen, I'm tapping my right. If they're on the left-hand side of the screen, I'm tapping my left. So they can see it, hopefully. So talking, communication is key. Non-verbal cues are key as well, so that you have a great outcome. So nobody is not umpiring the game. All right. We want to always have someone umpiring the game. I like to also think if you're in a two umpire system that you move up and down the ground as though you have an elastic band tied around your waist and tied around your other umpire. So number one umpire and number two umpire have an imaginary elastic band tied around their waist, and it only stretches as far as players can kick and then some, a kick and a half. So for some minis, they may only be able to kick 15 meters, but as we go up in grades, kicks can travel 30 meters. Some people kick even 50 meters. But essentially, what we want to be able to do is, as number two umpire, works and supports number one umpire when they're in control, that someone is always policing the mark. It's really important that we have vision on the player with the football. That's 90% on the player with the football and 10% of your vision on the player who's standing the mark. Reason is we want to be able to call play on very quickly. The game has become very free flowing. It's become very, a game of AFL is very athletic. They run and run and run and run. And so we want to be able to keep our distance from play, but keep up with our other umpire and work on that up and down the ground to be able to support them. All right. So lots of information around control, general play as a topic. Is there any questions that may come up? Maybe you want to pop them in the chat. Maybe you want to come off mute, we can have a chat. Some key terms: major axis, minor axis, handing over, squaring off, tapping your chest to say mine, handing over saying yours. Arms to the side is a squaring off as well. So a few people typing away. Another positioning thing from or understanding, the point post to point post is known as the tram lines. We call them the tram lines. And then essentially when you count up the distance between tram lines to tram lines, it's another indicator or visual indicator on the ground. Now, different grounds vary from size to size. So tram lines is also another point where we might say, hey, take up a position. And that's probably going to be my next video. I'm going to talk more on that with regards to control set kick, where I'm going to break this down, where a footballer is kicking for a shot on goal or is likely to score. All right. So when you play, I hear the umpire say the other umpire's name. Yeah. Look, it can be helpful to, if you know the other umpire's name, as when you meet them before you go on the ground, and say yours Simon or yours Seth, and that can also help. I guess it's another way where players might come up, and if you're okay with them saying your name or asking questions as you go through grades, it's good to have that rapport, build that rapport, and people asking the question or asking, what they need to do or do better, or how can, that sort of thing. It's good to use their names. I like to use players' names. It's funny where you've got some umpires umpiring in the minis panel and they're playing on the weekend, and they, it's good to use their players' names if you know them as well. So it's both, it goes both ways, but it's not a big deal. Really clear. If you don't know their name, I would just say yours and I would say mine to keep it really simple. A lot of terms can get confusing for people. I like to say to players when they've had time on the mark, sometimes I get this question, do I count 30 seconds? This is an AFL thing when they're having a shot on goal. That's more, I'll talk about in set kick control. But I personally, when a player is given a free kick or they've taken a mark around the ground, I like to, give them an opportunity to kick the ball or dispose of the ball. I might quickly whistle them up with 2 short whistle blasts to say, must kick now. It's really clear for them that I'm going to call play on within the next 2-3 seconds. So it's not very long that you leave it for. But I encourage the player, give them plenty of time, but obviously not too long of a time to kick the ball. And so you'll know it's about a feel for the game and understanding of what's going on. If they're really time wasting, taking longer than probably 5 to 6 seconds is starting to get there. And so we are seeing players and questions for how do you know if under 7? Question is how do you know how long they should give them to kick the ball when they mark the ball? Do you mean? How long is in under 7s hold the mark? I'm just trying to understand the question, I suppose, as well. That's a question that you can ask through your coaching team, through Mark. Are you asking Mark to maybe answer that question? I don't mind you coming off mute, Mark, if you want to, if he's on the call. How long do you give him in under 7s?
Just quickly, in under 7s, it's really easy. If it hits 2 hands, it's a mark. Or if it bounces off their chest, it's a mark.
And then how long do you give them once they've marked it to kick the ball, dispose of the ball, Mark? Really tough when your name's Mark. Geno?
All the time in the world in under 7s. So yeah. Simon spoke about communication before and being on the mark. Every mark in under 7s, you would have to be on the mark in a coaching, really coaching the young footballer to go back, give himself some room to kick the football. And just as importantly as the young person who's standing the mark's probably standing the mark for the first time in their life.
Yeah.
So, and to get young kids to stand still is difficult. One thing that works really, really well on the mark in under 7s is you just say, and under 9s as well, you say you're right on the mark, put your hands in the air. Funny thing is, once their hands go in the air, their feet stop. So really, really good tip there, especially in under 7s. You're on the mark now.
Might try that in A grade
now,
too.
Put your hands in the air.
Might try that in A grade,
the kids put their hands in the air and they don't walk. So, But yeah, to answer the first question, the mark in under 7s is if they make an attempt and it hits 2 hands, it might go straight through. It might hit 2 sets of fingertips. It's a mark. If it hits them on the chest and bounces straight off, it's a mark.
Good. Good explanation. And so, yeah, so give them plenty of chances or time, obviously, to kick the ball, dispose of the ball. Getting that player to stand the mark is a good tip there as well. Put your hands up in the air. We don't have the stand rule as such, but I'd like to encourage us to hold it there, stay there. There's sort of terms that you can use when getting the player, or come back 1 meter. If you say come back one step, whose steps are they? All right. There's some of the things you'll find. Being clear, being specific, telling them what they know. What's 1 meter? Everyone should know what a meter is, hopefully. And it's going to be close. If you want them to come back 1 more meter, that's okay to say that as well. But 1 foot, 1 step, their foot size could be smaller than your foot size, so don't use that. And we're not in the USA either for foot and inches and yards, so use it as a meter. If there's any other questions around control, general play, what we can be doing, working up the major axis is important. Working wide to try and see, as I said, reminder, see the ball player's head and shoulders and the ball, because then the tackle can get laid. You can see high contact. You can see in the back, if you're in a comfortable decision-making position, slightly forward of the contest, slightly forward, not always is encouraged to be side onto the contest. So that's at 90 degrees. If we were looking at a 90-degree angle, we just want to come in slightly forward of it, running to that position, being on the move. If you blow your whistle, then you've got to be on the move. It's got to have some decision to be made. We don't want to be standing still. We don't want to have our hands on our hips either if you're a field or boundary or goal umpire. We always want to just be showing that we're concentrating, showing that we're focused, and that we're giving our all and doing the job that's required of us as well. All right. Well, everybody, if that concludes the session, I've given enough information. I've spoken enough. I'm really appreciative that many of you have come off mute and said some things tonight, answered my questions in the chat. As I said, this is just the first of many sessions that I'm going to be running on a Monday night. Jeno's going to be running. Mark Jensen's going to be running his sessions as well in through Wednesdays and Tuesdays and whenever it is. But just a great opportunity to get some information out to you all and hope support you in your umpiring journey. Get the most out of it. Enjoy your footy. Umpiring is an important role. We're part of the game. And so, yeah, games, they need us to umpire the game, and they don't have a game. So do what we can, do your best. That's all I ask. And it's all the players ask for as well. All right. All right.